Hey, what's up? All right, so I got out of an interesting talk with a guy. Um, one of his employees is, he cuts out of work every day early because he wants to make sure that he can make it out over to the protests and the riots that are happening downtown. Right, not so much of a riot, except for when um, people really, blockade police into the courthouse and try to burn the building down and all these things, as if every one of those officers isn't intrinsically guilty of bad policing, right? Like, yes, there are bad police. Yes, it is incredibly hard to get them out of their position. I don't know if you've ever had to deal with a union before or try to fire somebody from a union. That's not easy shit. I tell you what, you got to go through a lot to prove their incompetency, like a lot, and you really have to want to do it. And then when you have, and sometimes you will get like precincts, that where a group of them have joined up together because they want to, enforce power and to progress in their power that they had at a younger age or whatever it is. That they just didn't have the greatest intents when they went in. It was not to uphold the Constitution or to protect and serve. It was to do, malice things, or not even so much malice. I want to say self-serving, right? Because I don't want to paint anybody as inherently malice. Everybody's the hero of their own story, right? So I don't want to demonize anybody. Not saying that people shouldn't be demonized, but I don't want to demonize them, right? But if you get a whole group of them in there, they're all part of that union. They all have their union rep that is, part of that, and they, kind of form the culture of that precinct. And if they form it in a bad way, then you're going to have bad cops. You're going to have a bad precinct. It's happened before. They get shut down. Well, they used to. It's gotten increasingly harder, and that's because of the unions. And well, I am left-winging. I'm left-leaning. I was all in support of the protests when they first happened. I was like, yes, get out there, talk about how, because I've seen it. Not racial bias on police, no, class bias from police that I've seen plenty of. I've seen plenty of cops who, place you as a bad guy because of essentially where you are and how you look, right? So even though you may not have bad intent, if you're just, if you're in the wrong place, looking the wrong way, like, they can deem you a criminal, and that's not even the officer's fault, right? Like, so they've begun this culture. They've gotten you're incentivized to make arrests, to ticket, to find the criminals, right? Like, you have a big incentive for this, but sometimes that incentive can be overran by quotas and bad tactics and poor training. Okay, and I was with it. I was all with it. I was like, man, I can't wait for this Civil War to start off. Well, motherfucker, I tell you what, I ain't flying no other bullshit ass flag. You want me to fly a fucking Black Lives Matter flag or something like that? You're gravely mistaken. I'm flying an American flag because I'm standing up for American rights, right? Our Fourth Amendment right. And to keep us from tyranny. And I thought for sure, like, any time now, especially once the National Guard and all these things came out, that the militias that are largely libertarian, not necessarily Trumpist, that it when you really feel like the president is speaking for you and working for you, it's very hard to persuade that person that that it's not true, or that it's inherently false. You would have a hard time making that bet, I promise you. And you get these people out there that have the greatest of intent, right? That, like the Navy guy who showed up out there because he wanted to talk to them about their constitutional, about their oath to the Constitution. and the constitutional rights that, you know, they're kind of stepping on some of these areas, because, you know, they came out in full force, which was not exactly the best way of handling the protests, right? Like protests didn't handle it well either. You wanna equivalent it back to the days of Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King was an elected, an officiated spokesman for those marches. They when they put them together, when they put the marches together in the first place, when they went for the permits, when they did all these things, they didn't just have some nameless, faceless group that did it. Martin Luther King was the appointed official, self-appointed, in a way, absolutely, because he was charismatic. He had the preacher thing going for him. Like he was on top of it. So, but he was on the forefront, right? He led the marches, and he was very clear with the people in the marches that this is nonviolent. It's absolutely nonviolent. We are not going to throw things at the police that are going to stand there against us. We are going to be the bigger men. We are going to stand in the face of their tyranny, and we are going to stand up for our rights in a peaceful manner. They didn't, he was very clear that any violence, any looting, any destruction was going to get you cast out. Like, bottom line, cast out. Take a look at it. You gotta look at how much destruction happened during the Martin Luther King Jr. Marches. None. And why? Because you were extremely chastised, and you were punished for doing it by the mob, by the protesters, by the people that were there going, hey, we need real change. You need to hear us. And this movement did not have that. It still doesn't have that. It still doesn't have a clear speaker who's out there, who's doing press, who's speaking with officials, who's talking to police chiefs and mayors and elected officials that have influence in these policies and these in the way the budget is spent, things like that. Because you don't want to defund the police. You do not want to fucking defund the police. You don't want to do it. You want to reform the police, right? You want to demilitarize and retrain the police is what you really want to do, right? You want to teach them to de-escalate rather than escalate. You also want to make sure that they are showing up, the multiple to call, absolutely, and try to get a sergeant, try to get a superior, try to get accountability for the way that they are going to act. Because you know damn well that when you're in a stressful situation, when you're alone versus how you are when you have your buddies right there, they're two completely different things, right? And as long as they are portraying the correct manners that you get from training, the correct way, then then you can have an open dialogue. You can make change. Things can happen. This way is not going to happen. And now it's turned into where, because you side with a more liberal stance, which I do not stand with the Democratic Party. Fuck you, DNC. I do not stand with them. Because you're left leaning, all of a sudden, I'm your enemy. I'm not your enemy. I'm your fellow American. And I thought we were going to stand together against tyranny, and not in a violent way, but to stand up and say, hey, this government is getting overreached. The police are are the tools of their overreach, and there needs to be change. And the officers will stand up with you. I promise you that. If you had came in like that, if you had been like, you need better training, you need to be demilitarized, you need to stop looking at it as us versus you versus me, and start looking at it as we are together, right? Like, you are going to police my neighborhood, you are going to keep me safe, and when you do make an arrest, you're going to do the best you can to do it in the most civil manner possible, because we are Americans and we hold ourselves to the highest of standards. Used to mean something. Anyway, that's it.